Oh, this is an interesting one. Okay. So, Red Sonja, a movie that's been in gestation, in development for quite some time. I mean, let's go back like 11 years when Robert Rodriguez was hooking up with with Rose McGowan, and he had attached her to star in his version of Red Sonja that he was going to write and produce. So much so they even worked out concept art, gave it away at Comic-Con as part of just some swag if you happen to be in the room. I have no idea where my copy is anymore, but that ultimately ended up dying. And then now they were getting ready to work on another Red Sonja film, this time with Bryan Singer set to direct it. This, of course, coming after the whole controversy surrounding Bohemian Rhapsody's firing, and of course the Me Too allegations led against him. But Fox wasn't interested in letting Bryan Singer go. They wanted him to work on the movie. There was no one was basically boosting him out until now, because it's just coming out here that Bryan Singer is out as Red Sonja's director, saying that the Hollywood Reporter brings word that Bryan Singer is no longer attached to direct Red Sonja, a movie that's in development with Millennium Films. According to the trade, Singer was dropped from the project not because of reports of him abusing underage boys, but because a production company couldn't secure a distributor in the US with Singer involved. And that ultimately is what's going to be probably what topples Singer's career. Never mind that Bohemian Rhapsody grossed over $800 million for 20th Century Fox. Bryan Singer himself received a $40 million payout for that particular movie. There is talks of a sequel because Rami Malek won Best Actor and the movie won Best Editing. Somehow, John Ottman won Best Editing. Have you watched the editing of Bohemian Rhapsody? It's pretty terrible. But the article in question that they bring up here is this one, right? Saying nobody's going to believe you. It's an Atlantic expose on Bryan Singer. And this one was used ultimately as a way to destroy any credibility Bryan Singer has left. Now, I don't know how you feel about Bryan Singer as a person, but there's one aspect of this article that they really don't talk about in regards to allegations made against him. And it's one that back in 2014, I followed very closely leading up to the release of X-Men Days of Future Past, where a guy by the name of Michael Egan filed a lawsuit against Bryan Singer, alleging that he had in fact abused him at the age of 17 in Hawaii in the summer of 1999. Now, this was big headlines. This was 3.5 years almost before the Me Too movement, and it was a big scandal, possibly going to be hurting the release of X-Men Days of Future Past, which at the time was my belief for why they waited until that moment in order to file the lawsuit. The movie was coming out in a month and some change. They figured enough negative publicity would force Singer or 20th Century Fox to settle and do a payout in order to make sure that the film went on to make a lot of money. But the case fell apart, and that's actually not really talked about in that Atlantic expose. In that Atlantic piece, they failed to mention that the dates provided by Michael Egan alleging that Bryan Singer had been with him in Hawaii were refuted by the fact that Bryan Singer was in Toronto, Ontario, shooting the first X-Men movie. That's what caused the case to absolutely crumble and die. But it gets brought up again every time these conversations happen, and no one ever talks about that. Now, I don't know if Bryan Singer is guilty or innocent of these things he's been accused of. If there's been a crime, please go to the police, please file reports, please see this thing through. But ultimately, we'll probably never be able to know the absolute truth. We live in a country where it's supposed to be guilty or innocent until proven guilty, but it's ultimately not. We've seen the Me Too accusations come out and damage people like Aziz Ansari. It was a bad date. That was all it was. It was a bad date, but it was definitely hit with the Me Too thing coming right after his Emmy win for Master of None. And his career basically has kind of gone into limbo ever since. It's been a year and a half almost since we've heard anything out of Aziz Ansari. I hear he's doing a couple stand-up bits here and there, but that's really about it. I mean, these accusations have long-lasting, long-reaching impacts on people's lives. And Hollywood is a very, very, very dangerous place for those sort of things. They will derail careers. They will take careers out. But at the same time, if you're powerful enough, they have the ability to sweep things under the rug. And that could be where we are with Bryan Singer. I don't know. All I know about Bryan Singer is there was an accusation that was disproven for the dates given, which I think calls a lot of the credibility of that particular witness into question. But that's just me. But with Red Sonja being without a director at this point in time, that kind of really opens up the idea for what's going to happen with movies going forward. with Bryan Singer being out because of the accusation being levied against him and them being unable to find a US distributor that will then handle the movie, this could be ultimately what starts really choking out people in Hollywood. Whereas if you are a person accused of something that has not gone to court in the way that you wanted to, or not gone anywhere in court, they can be squeezed out of a job by just refusing to work with them, which is the company's right to do, by the way. The company, a distributor, has the right to do it. They have a right to not work with whoever they don't want to work with. But it's going to be very interesting to see where things go in the future. It's going to be very interesting to see whether or not Red Sonja actually ends up coming to fruition, if it ends up actually ever seeing the light of day. I would argue that they're going to probably bring in another director. I hear Simon Kinberg's going to be available here. We don't know if that's going to be the case or not. And I'm hoping that ultimately certain things get solved. I think Bryan Singer is a very talented filmmaker. If he's done these things that they accuse him of, please go to the, please prove it. Go to the courts, get him arrested, get him behind bars. These are terrible things. If it's not true and it's just a ploy to get money, then that needs to come out as well. Because this is the problem with these kind of accusations, is they destroy lives and livelihoods. And as a person who likes to think that people are innocent until proven guilty, we live in a weird world for that. We live in a very weird world for those sort of things. So it'll be, again, fascinating turn of events. Very curious to see where things go. I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts and your positions on this. Let me know down in the comments below. I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.